Stop what you're doing if you have a few minutes. Kick back and relax while I read to you Chapter 1 from my psychological thriller, The Psychiatrist. I'll be reading from an updated, unpublished version of Chapter 1. Amelia sat catatonic in a wooden chair, her glazed eyes staring ahead blankly. Her legs were chained to metal posts cemented into the dirt floor. She had enough room to stand, but she was way beyond capable of standing. Embraced by a straitjacket, Amelia drooled unaware. She had been under the care of her psychiatrist husband, Dr. Leonard Edwards, since 1943, when she disappeared without a trace. Detectives quickly gave up searching, closing her case as unsolved. With no trace of her body, the truth remained hidden. Amelia was 24 years old at the time. The first anniversary of Amelia being officially presumed dead was nearing. Several other women had disappeared from the same town, which proved convenient for Dr. Edwards. A known serial killer in the area was found guilty of those murders. Amelia's body never turned up, so the sheriff assumed Amelia had fallen prey to a possible copycat killer. Some townspeople whispered rumors that someone else was responsible for Amelia's disappearance. They felt uneasy. Nothing made any sense. A copycat killer was just a quick fix to quell their fears and have them move on, they'd said. Emily, Amelia's mother, stood alone in believing that scenario to be untrue. I never liked that man. He was fake and acted like he was better than anyone else because he was a doctor. Amelia deserved better. As Emily stood peering at her daughter's childhood portrait above the mantel, questions remained, such as why Dr. Edwards was never considered a suspect. Why was he deemed a devastated widower allowed to continue his flourishing practice amid Amelia's disappearance? Furthermore, Emily's instincts told her that Amelia was not the only one in danger. The small town of Herrington in deep South Mississippi was quaint and quiet. Until the serial killer came on the scene in 1941, Herrington was mostly unknown. When women started showing up bound and gagged, slashed open from trachea to pubis with the word whore carved into their right upper thigh, the word quickly spread from coast to coast about the crimes of this small town. Shortly after marrying, Leonard and Amelia moved to Herrington. It was October 1941. He immediately opened his psychiatry practice in the small town, where the townsfolk were elated to have a new doctor moving in. His office consisted mostly of young women he often labeled with psychiatric diagnoses, placing them on tranquilizers and providing unconventional treatments at the requests of their wealthy husbands. On Christmas Eve, briefly after they arrived in Herrington, the first slasher murder victim's body was found. 2 young boys in the woods headed to the creek to throw rocks found the body. The location was less than a mile from Dr. and Mrs. Edwards' property line, causing a stir in the quiet town. Amelia was so traumatized when she heard about the close proximity of the victim that she threatened to move back to her home in northern Maine. Her insecurity over that incident was the first time Amelia experienced Leonard's full-fledged anger. It infuriated him that Amelia did not trust him to keep her safe. He was not about to allow her to humiliate him by running back to her mother. He accused her of being paranoid, the first of many symptoms he would later attribute to her schizophrenia diagnosis. Leonard's practice had already taken off, with a steady group of patients under his care. Word was spreading in the small town about his success in the treatment of mental illness. He wasn't about to have anyone cause suspicions that he didn't have his affairs in order. Amelia decided to start a journal over concerns that this might be the first of many more abusive attacks. She documented the details about their arguments and how Leonard had accused her of being paranoid. She made sure to include that he yelled, calling her a crazy woman, and described how he shoved her into the mantel, leaving a deep cut on her head. Leonard had convinced her to let him restrain her so she wouldn't thrash about as he sewed her wound himself to prevent local busybodies from asking questions about the incident. Once he finished with the stitching, he left her tied up for 3 days to teach her not to cross him again. Amelia was afraid of him from that day forward. She pondered the changes in Leonard. He isn't the kind gentleman with whom I fell in love. The Edwards' home was a symbol of his physician's status. A 2-story Queen Anne style with spires and a high, short-pitched roof and a wraparound porch stood sentinel in the middle of 250 acres. Magnolia trees lined the long dirt driveway. Their home was the envy of all the townsfolk. At Leonard's request, a cellar was installed, which was accessible from the library room floor. The opening was hidden, and even Amelia wasn't aware of the secret room. His sinister plans were already in place before they ever moved to Herrington. The cellar had a dirt floor, was damp, and smelled of mold. The only natural light source came from its opening in the floor. Flashlights or kerosene lamps provided the needed light once the trap door was shut. The walls included shelves lined with jars organized alphabetically by patient name, containing specimens. A metal table with tools and instruments meticulously arranged by length sat ready for the doctor's use. Dr. Edwards' cellar would provide the perfect secluded space for unconventional research and treatments. Like most physicians, he started his treatments with non-invasive methods such as herbs and medications. Still, when that didn't work, he resorted to more intensive therapy until his patients became more docile, suitable wives. Amelia was not the wife Leonard expected her to be. Although it was never his intention to have her become his patient, it seemed she never overcame her concerns about the serial killer and continually threatened to go back home, causing him to take drastic measures. His patience wore thin with her constant need for affirmation of her safety, taking a toll on his work. He determined to manage Amelia himself. His training and skills provided him with everything he needed to persuade her to become a satisfactory physician's wife. If you enjoyed Chapter 1 and want to find out what happens next, head over to Amazon.com and get your copy of The Psychiatrist. Just type my name, Sandra Poindexter, in the Amazon search bar and it should populate all of my books and you'll find The Psychiatrist there. Thank you for your time and for listening to Chapter 1 of my book, The Psychiatrist.